Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report, Week 5 in the NFL. We're getting you on the right side of some of these moves. I am Drew Martin alongside Teddy Covers, ready to break it down on Monday. Teddy, my co-host here at Teddy_Covers on Twitter, Wager Talk at sportsmemo.com. Teddy, welcome in. How you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling okay, Drew. I had a rough Saturday, and I had my worst week of the NFL season where we split out in the NFL. We won week 1, we won week 2, we won week 3. Week 4 was a split. Frankly, I'll take it. If that's going to be my bad week, I'll deal with splitting out. It's okay. But it wasn't a great weekend, unfortunately, for the clients. We like to come in on Monday all fired up off a huge weekend, and this wasn't that weekend. So nonetheless, we're still right in a good NFL. I think it's 12-5 in the NFL since week 1. So we're running still pretty good in the National Football League. And let's see if we can put you guys on the right side of some of these line moves. We do have a couple of emergency betting alerts that I expect to be live as the show progresses. So stick around. We'll go through every game on the board right now.
Opening line report style. First, we're going to hit the Monday Nighter real quick here, Teddy. Rams, 49ers, 42.5 being the total. San Francisco taking a little money. Open 1, now -2 at most shops. Looking at the Wager Talk Live odds screen. Any quick thoughts on tonight's Monday Night Football game?
So this is clearly a sharp square divide game. The pros are taking San Francisco. The Joes are taking the LA plus. Yesterday was a big Joe day for the books. The public sides basically all won. It was the first losing Sunday of the year for most sports books, both here in Nevada and across the country. And in general, after the public cleans up on Sunday, I don't know that I want to be on the public side on Monday night for what it's worth. And that is the Rams plus and the public dog nonetheless. So two teams that have struggled early on. I don't anticipate any significant line move between now and kickoff. I think it'll hover at less than a field goal for San Francisco, but it's clear that the pros are on the 49ers, the Joes on the other side.
Thursday night opening line report style. Indianapolis Colts at the Denver Broncos, 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific kick here, guys. 301, 302, the rotation numbers, 44 being the total. -3.5. There is a -3, -120 out there, but mostly 3 in the hooks here. That's the Broncos at home. What are we thinking? Opening line report style, a mile high, Teddy.
Yeah, now sometimes I get surprised by the way a line moves off the opener. This is one of them. I wonder if it's a false move. Open 2.5, the look-ahead line. Last week, again, bettable line from the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. Last week before the games were played with Denver 2.5, 43. My powering number for the Broncos is 3.5. It opened 3.5 and 43.5, and there were 43s this morning. Now we're seeing 44s. I don't understand why this money's coming on the over. These are two bad offensive teams. I mean, Matt Ryan got destroyed yesterday. The running game for Indy didn't work. Jonathan Taylor, 42 yards on 20 carries. And he was hit in the backfield a play after play after play. Indy's offensive line is broken right now. And, of course, Frank Reich's trying to keep the positive spirit. We feel like we're seeing some things we want to see. But in the end, we need to play better. We need to execute better. We need to stop turning the ball over. We need to start getting turnovers. We need to run the football a little bit better. Yeah. A lot of things you need, right? And, of course, all kinds of rumors about Irsay, the owner in Indy, getting impatient and frustrated with the start for this team. Might be put up or shut up time for Reich. But, of course, Indy's defense has been great. Yesterday, not so much against Tennessee. But it's not like Denver's offense is doing anything. The Broncos are the most penalized team in the NFL through 3 games. And then they had another 7 yesterday. Melvin Gordon lost another fumble. They can't put him back in the lineup right now. He's had 4 fumbles in 4 games. And yesterday, he had a fumble 6. It was probably the biggest play of the game. Denver had good field position over and over again as the Raiders couldn't take advantage of it. They scored only once on 6 drives in the second half. Russell Wilson, really rough stretches in that ball game. These are not two offenses that are clicking. These are two offenses that are struggling in every way right now. Both defenses are better than both offenses. I'm surprised this total's been bet up. I wonder if it's a false move as the markets wait for the big limits to come up, because sometimes bettors will throw in false bets, more so in college football than the NBA, but say false bets because they're trying to get to whatever point spread they're going to hammer back the other way. I'm surprised by the over money here. I can't anticipate that the 44s are going to hold.
Thursday nighter into Sunday's slate here, guys. NFL Week 5 Sunday, October 9th. Full day of games again as we're heading to the game in London on the other side of the pond here, Teddy. 451, 452, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific kick. New York Giants, Green Bay Packers. Green Bay listed as the home team, but guys, this is at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They're in England. -8. What we're seeing the Packers, 41.5 being the total at most sports books. Teddy, what are we thinking in the London game, Giants and Packers?
So this is the modern NFL betting marketplace. 5 years ago, there's no line for this game because we have no idea if Daniel Jones is going to play or not. We have no idea if his backup, Tyrod Taylor, is going to play or not. Taylor came in, got hurt after Jones got hurt, and then I think he lasted a series or two, got concussed, out the ball game, and then Jones came back in, but they wouldn't have him throw. He just handed the ball off down the stretch of that ball game. I don't know if either guy's going to play. The third stringer is Davis Webb. And I put 3 power rating numbers for the Giants, each of which is 2 points off the other one. I have a 2-point differential between Jones and Taylor. The markets won't have as big a differential there. Tyrod Taylor cannot throw the ball downfield. I think there's a legit difference between the two QBs. And Webb, obviously, as a third stringer, I made a 2-point additional adjustment should he play here. So my powering number for the game is 6.5/8.5/10.5. The look ahead line was 7. The betting markets last night at the open were 7.5/8. And today we're seeing pretty much 8s out there across the board. And look, the Giants passing game is broken. All right, it doesn't matter who's a quarterback. Right now they cannot throw the football at all. Kenny Golladay, catchless yesterday. He left with a knee injury. They got cluster injuries all over the receiving corps. They can run the football. They can play defense. But there are definitely issues with the passing game. And, boy, the injury report after yesterday's game was ugly. Julian Love got hurt. Evan Neal got hurt. Henry Mondo got hurt. Golladay got hurt late. Aaron Robinson got hurt. This is a banged-up football team in London. Of course, the Packers coming off a non-inspiring defensive showing, I should say. The Patriots with 4 consecutive scoring drive after halftime, despite playing with their third-string rookie quarterback, and they ran for more than 5 yards per carry against this Green Bay defense. And Rodgers, had an awful first half, 4 of 11 for 44 yards, an 11.2 passer rating. Quote, I settled in and usually don't have 2 terrible halves, so I kind of returned to the form I expect from myself. And we started moving the football. I've been a great player for a long time. Not a whole lot I need to tell myself. Just play better. Of course, Belichick kind of agreed with that. Quote, in the end, Rodgers is just too good. He made some throws that only he can make. I don't anticipate a ton of Giants money here. If anything, we're more likely to see Packers money, even though Green Bay coming off the non-cover and the Giants coming off the cover. We're not seeing any early indicators that we're going to see a lot of movement on this one.
Good start here, Teddy, as we head to the 1 o'clock Eastern slate, 10 a.m. Pacific, 453, 454. Seattle Seahawks, New Orleans Saints, 45 being the total. Some 45 in the hooks out there, but the consensus number 45 as the total. -5.5. That's the New Orleans Saints at home. Again, some quarterback questions here for the New Orleans side of things. We've seen Seattle actually get some decent quarterback play from Geno Smith there, Teddy. -5 and a hook at most shops. That's the Saints at home. What are we thinking in the Big Easy?
Look ahead line, Saints -6.5. Bet down to 6. So the early money did come on Seattle there. Total 40.5. My powering number shorter. It's only 3.5 on this ball game. We're looking at 4.5s and 5s last night. We were looking at 4s first thing this morning, and then boom, the markets have shot up to 5.5, which tells us that the markets expect Jameis Winston to play in this ball game. I'm not convinced that's the case. They've lost 3 in a row now. It's been penalties and turnover. Dennis Allen. We still have to find a way to go out and not hurt ourselves with penalties and turnovers. That's got to change. I mean, their special teams were bad yesterday. They fumbled a punt. Andy Dalton got strip sacked at the end of the first half. And, of course, the injuries are significant. No Kamara, no Michael Thomas. Winston was inactive yesterday. And these are going to be ongoing issues. It's not like Dennis Allen has a great track record as a head coach in his previous instance. It's not like there wasn't some expectation that New Orleans was going to take a step back this year. This team's struggling right now. And you talked about Geno. That was the best game I've ever seen Geno play yesterday, bar none. The Lions went over their team total by 18 points and never sniffed a cover, which tells us how good Seattle's offense was. The offense, and remember, this is an offense that didn't score a point for 6 quarters. They hung 48 yesterday, and they could not be stopped. I mean, Smith was brilliant. Rashad Penny was brilliant. They were 9 of 12 on third downs. They averaged 8.8 yards per play. Defensively, however, Seattle has all kinds of issues, and that's why probably this line is where it is. Again, the Lions got the 45 yesterday, despite the fact that they were missing all of their best skill position talent and half of their offensive line. It's a concern for Seattle on the defensive side of the football right now. This is an over team, even with Geno behind center, because Geno's chucking the football around in a way that he wasn't doing earlier this season. And the Saints, right now, not a team I'm comfortable laying points with. I would expect the public will be on Seattle in this game. The wise guys will be on New Orleans. This is going to be a sharp square divide.
Let's head to the AFC South up next. Houston Texans. Jacksonville Jaguars here, Teddy. 455, 456, the rotation number. Jags, -7. A lot of shops showing that -120, even some with the -7.5 here. That's Jacksonville as the home favorite. 44.5 being the total. Texans at Jags here, Teddy.
Look headline, Jacksonville -7 and 43. That did get bet down. There were some books that got bet down to Jacksonville -6.5 off that opener of 7 on the look ahead. My powering number is Jags -6.5, and the markets are sitting pretty clearly at 7 this morning. I'm not seeing any dramatic instance that you got to run to the window and get the 7. I'm not convinced it's going to go up, although it could. So I raised my power rating off Jacksonville yesterday. I know they lost the game. I didn't, go nuts on the Jags, but that was a test against an elite team. And the Jags lost the game. They didn't fail the test. They turned the ball over 5 times after committing just 1 turnover the first 3 weeks of the season, and the 5 takeaways resulted in 22 points for the Eagles. Trevor Lawrence was the reigning AFC player of the week and had his worst game of the season. He lost 4 fumbles. He tossed an interception. But the offensive line created holes against a powerful Philly front. Lawrence had time to throw, and they did it without Zay Jones, their number 1 receiver in the lineup. This is a positive thing for the Jags. Again, even though they lost, they stood toe-to-toe with a quality team for extended stretches in that ballgame. And that, to me, is a power ratings boost, not a power ratings decline. As for the Texans, look, this is still, they're winless. They've been struggling mightily down the stretch of these games. They came in and outscored 30-0 in the fourth quarter and finally got a little something going. And the defense is falling apart. First they couldn't stop the run the 1 week. Then last week they couldn't stop the pass. They went up 57 points over the last 2 games. And if your run defense isn't working and your pass defense isn't working, it's a hard team for me to ask you to just hang around in this point spread range. Houston, again, they're number 32 in my power ratings. And right now, they just continue to sink.
When the offense isn't working and the defense isn't working. I like it, Teddy. Like that quote, man. Pittsburgh and Baltimore up next. Or Pittsburgh and Buffalo, excuse me. The Bills. -2 touchdowns here. -14 at home in Buffalo. 47 being the total. Steelers at Bills here, Teddy.
Yeah, we have not heard who's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback this week. We do know that Steelers have a bunch of injuries in the secondary. Minka Fitzpatrick got hurt. Terrell Edmonds got hurt. Kilo Witherspoon got hurt. That's at least part of why Zach Wilson had such a big fourth quarter against his Pittsburgh defense yesterday, because the Steelers defense was all banged up. Look ahead line, Buffalo -13, 47.5. My powering number is only 12 because I keep downgrading the Bills because their injury report is ugly and ugly and ugly. I'll talk about that in a minute. Open 14.47, still sitting 14.47. This line's not doing anything right now. I'm not convinced that it will. So Pittsburgh has the injuries in the secondary. This is a major concern. They also did the quarterback change in game yesterday. And Kenny Pickett, we'll give Pickett credit. He only threw 3 incomplete passes, but unfortunately for Pittsburgh, none of them hit the ground. They were all 3 interceptions. And it was the difference in the ballgame. Pickett's quote after the game, "I just play with an edge. That's something I want to bring to the table. I do not like to lose. This is not a good feeling." And Pittsburgh's defense was great for most of the game against the Jets until the secondary got hurt late and things kind of got ugly. For Buffalo, look, we're going to give them credit for rallying back from a 17-point deficit. We're going to give them credit for ending their streak of 7 consecutive losses in one-score games. All their wins come in blowout fashion. All their losses have come in tight contests, and that ended yesterday. But there are some pretty big issues from the injury standpoint in Buffalo right now. Their offensive line isn't playing particularly well. They're not running the football. They've got injuries at running back and receiver. They've got injuries in the secondary. It's not a team right now that's necessarily easy to lay 2 touchdowns with, especially off the 2 games they just played. Miami and Baltimore, both intense down to the final second physical ball games. I don't love this spot for Buffalo. I do worry about a rookie quarterback against this defense.
Teddy, next game up, we got 4-5-9, 4-6-0 Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, we're seeing the Falcons catching 8 here. They're having to go on the road to Tampa, 48 being the total. Of course, Tampa off of the game just last night. And we got the Falcons here, Teddy, 4-0 against the spread, catching 8 points. I don't know. This number's jumping out at me, man. I'm looking towards the Dirty Birds. What are you thinking here in Tampa Bay?
Sure, the only 4-0 ATS team in the league. And admittedly, they haven't played the toughest schedule. New Orleans, the Rams, Seattle, and Cleveland. But the Rams game is somewhat misleading. They got blown out in that game and then came back and made things interesting. But back-to-back wins for Atlanta. They did it yesterday despite the fact that Mariota wasn't good. Look headline here, Tampa 8.5 and 47. My powering number is only 6.5 for the game because I keep upping Atlanta. I've been impressed with the Falcons. Of course, open 8.5 last night. Now we're seeing this morning mostly 8s and even a prominent 7.5 out there. So there has been a little bit of Falcons money. The wise guys have seen what I've seen with this Atlanta team as one that's being way better than expected. And look, there are all these questions. Oh, well, if Cordell Patterson's hurt, can the running game work? They ran for 200 yards again yesterday against Cleveland, who's got a pretty good run defense. Whether it's Caleb Huntley or the rookie Tyler Algier, Avery Williams. This is a team that went 7-2 in one-possession games last year. We said, oh, they got lucky. They won all these fraudulent games. They're winning again, the one-score games. We like Arthur Smith. This is a smart team. Tampa, really weird game plan against Kansas City. I mean, they abandoned the run right from the get-go. They had 6 carries last night. And I understand they turned the ball over deep in their territory and they were behind the 8 ball early when it came to the score. And Brady doesn't lose a whole lot of games, and Brady doesn't lose a whole lot of games where his team scores in the 30s. But you don't want Brady dropping back 50 times and running the ball 6. It's a weird game plan for Tampa. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Falcons money here. There's some bettors paying attention to what Atlanta's been doing, although it is a pretty big step up in class, and they are getting Tampa probably in an ornery mood off a poorly played defensive loss.
This is the NFL opening line report each and every Monday right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Pacific start time. I'm Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers, breaking it down, getting you on the right side of some of these line moves, both sides and total in the NFL. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live, feel free to chime in. Abby Jackson in the house, Riley B, letting us know who you're liking here. We got Raven Ron, he's liking Tampa Bay. Hey, XCal, he's liking Atlanta +8. So some opinion on both sides here as we move down the list, guys. About halfway through the 1 o'clock Eastern kicks here. Next game up, 4-6-1, 4-6-2, Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings. We're seeing the Vikings -7 home favorites here, Teddy. There is a 6.5 out there, 44 being the total. Bears at Vikings, Teddy.
Yeah, Minnesota open. Look headline was 6.5, total of 43. That look ahead line, again, I'm getting the openers from the Westgate, and then I do a second look when multiple books have them posted just to see if there's any line moves on it. And there were some books that moved to Minnesota -7. So the Vikings did take some early money. My powering number is Minnesota 7.5. And the markets are sitting right at 7 this morning, total at 44, not doing anything right now, looking at that Wager Talk live odds screen. So everything's been 6.5, 7.5, and now we're sitting at 7, which is no surprise. The Bears haven't allowed a touchdown in the second half of any game in 2022. Their defense has been okay, but the offense hasn't. The wrong ratio for Justin Fields again. 11 completions, 6 sacks in yesterday's loss to the Giants. And, first-year head coach Matt Eberflus, quote, "When the other team scores touchdowns and we kick field goals, typically that's not good. We've got to make sure we handle that in terms of our scoring efficiency on offense in the red zone. Turn some of those 3s into 7s. That's going to be big going forward." But this is a passing game that really isn't working right now at all. And when you're one-dimensional, it's a much easier offense to stop. Minnesota has a continuing problem in the red zone as well. They went 2 of 5 in the red zone yesterday. That's why if you bet the Vikings late, you didn't cover the number in that win. But the Saints went 3-3 in the red zone against this defense, which is a concern. Minnesota is not necessarily taking advantage of all their scoring chances. They've had their share of issues. They're not a team I'm excited about laying a touchdown with. I don't see this line moving a whole lot, and it's not a game I expect to bet.
Fair enough, Teddy. We got another 1 o'clock Eastern kick here. Tennessee at Washington. Titans -2.5 point road favorites. 42.5 being the total. Heading to our nation's capital here, Teddy. Titans at the former football team, now the Commanders.
Yeah, and it's time for today's first emergency betting alert. Look ahead line here was the Commanders pick 'em. There were some ones out there, and that money came for Tennessee on the look ahead line. A total of 42.5. My powering number came 4.5 for this ball game. Line open 2.5, 42.5. It looks like it's moving to 3. There are still mostly 2.5s out there, but if you like Tennessee, get the best of the number. All right. I would encourage you, again, if you like the Titans, the time to bet it is now, not on Sunday before kickoff. And look, the Titans team has scored on their opening drive, 4 touchdowns in 4 opening drives. They've been getting good starts to ball games. The offense has worked. Back-to-back weeks, the offense has worked. Tannehill's looked good. His first 5 completions to 5 different receivers, a couple of touchdowns. Derrick Henry looking like a monster again. The Colts had allowed a league best 2.6 yards per carry. And Derrick Henry gashed him. 5.2 yesterday, 114 yards on the ground. Now, Tennessee's had their problems in the second half. They've been outscored 64-7 in the second half this season. Maybe you want to take them first half here, including 17-0 against the Colts. But they found a way to win it. They were +3 in turnovers, and Mike Vrabel. That's what you have to do, find ways to win. We came up with some huge stops defensively, but maybe we're not at our best. They keep fighting and competing. But the markets are about to crash on Washington. They're crashing as we speak. That's why emergency betting alerts. Wentz is awful. There's no sugarcoating it. They got a good punting game. But they had only 12 penalties the first 3 games, and then they matched close to matching that yesterday. The penalties wiped out a couple of interceptions. This is a bad football team. Okay, they averaged 3.6 yards per pass on Sunday. Wentz is struggling. The defense is having their issues. There's plenty of skill position talent for Washington, but they're not getting the job done in the trenches. They're saying the right things. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, quote, "Everything we're doing right now is completely controllable. It's obviously frustrating not winning. We've got to figure ourselves out." But I don't like the body language of this team. I don't like the coaches' quotes from this team. And the markets are crashing on Washington as we speak. So be aware. You want to bet Tennessee sooner. Do it sooner rather than later.
Sure, and a lot of 2.5s up there, guys. In Vegas, Circa, we got South Point, DraftKings is also at 2.5. Most of the major offshores all sitting at 2.5. So just stay away from Caesars. Looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, they're already popping up a -3 on the Titans. Moving down the list here, Teddy, a little bit of a rivalry game in New York. Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, 465, 466 here. We get the Dolphins, -3.5 road favorites. 44.5 being the total. Dolphins and Jets, Teddy.
And again, this is another game we talk about the betting marketplace in 2022. 5 years ago, we wouldn't have a line on this game until Saturday morning. So we don't know who's playing quarterback for Miami this week. I don't think Tua is going to play, but he might. He had the extra time off between the last game and this game. And there's a huge difference between Tua and Teddy Bridgewater that I'm not sure the markets see. But of course, the look headlines have Tua in there, and the current numbers, I think, are Bridgewater numbers. The look headline was 6-45. My numbers, again, I'm making a 3-point adjustment from Tua to Bridgewater. I don't think that's enough, but I made the adjustment anyway. And my number came 6 with Tua and 3 without him. The markets are at 344.5 last night, 3 and 44 in early betting action today. Although there are still plenty of 44.5s out there. When Teddy Bridgewater is not going to test defenses deep. He did hit Tyreek Hill on the one long pass, but he also threw a pick. And Bridgewater is a game manager. He's not the guy that can produce the explosiveness out of this Dolphins offense that it has. And of course, Mike McDaniel talking about the loss to Cincy on last Thursday. You're going to lose games to very good teams if you lose the turnover battle and you're kicking field goals instead of trying for touchdowns. We had been executing. We didn't today. You don't get free passes against good team. But we talked about the issues Miami was facing last week. They played 90. The defense was on the snap for 9. Defense was on the field for 90 snaps against Buffalo, and then had to travel and play Cincinnati on a short week, and it was how it expected. I don't downgrade Miami off of that, but I will downgrade Miami between Tua and Teddy Bridgewater. The market's one, of course, key injury for the Dolphins. Xavier Howard, one of their star cornerbacks, left after suffering a groin injury. I have not seen an update on that this morning. How about this quote from Breece Hall, talking about how the Jets are feeling a whole lot better about themselves with Zach Wilson back, and now they're 2-2. Quote, obviously there's a culture shift. More than I can say it, I can see it. Zach Wilson. It was the first time as an offense we didn't feel stagnant. We didn't feel timid. Everyone was playing fast. Everyone was right on cue with what the calls were. It's so much fun playing like this as the Jets rally from double-digit deficit to beat Pittsburgh. But there are some significant concerns on the offensive line. Max Mitchell, I just read a report this morning. He's not out for the year, but I don't know. He got carted off the field yesterday. I don't know if he's going to play this week. Mekhi Becton, obviously, is hurt. Dwayne Brown's hurt. George Fant's already on injury reserve. They're down to their 5th and 6th string tackles. The right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, started the game at left tackle. There are issues for the Jets on the offensive line that may well affect them again this week. Miami extra time to repair, coming off a loss, but they may not have the QB play that we would hope for. We're going to lay a price with the Dolphins.
He's Teddy Covers, #1 Wager Talk net profit handicapper since February 1st of this year. So multiple months here, guys. Teddy leading the pack every play since February, 228 and 168. That's 58% plus 173 ROI. That's 173 percentage on the return on investment. NFL 12-5, 71% since week 1. He's seen it well here in the NFL. Obviously knows his NFL. He's got a free play up on his page. Check it out, Wager Talk or sportsmemo.com. It's one of the games we talked about here. He touches on it more in depth in writing. If you like the detailed written analysis, check it out. Teddy Covers page, Wager Talk and sportsmemo.com. Also a reminder here, guys, it's $9 Monday. Great day to check out the website. Next game up here, 1 o'clock Eastern, Teddy. LA Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. We're seeing the Bolts -3-point road favorites. There are a couple -2.5 out there on the offshores, but mostly -3 as the road favorite. That is the Chargers. 48 the total in Cleveland, Teddy.
Yeah, and look ahead line here for this was LA -2. It was bet down to 1.5, total of 48. My powering number has the Chargers 1.5, and the markets have LA back up to 3 this morning, total of 49. It's a pretty solid 3 on the board. I'm not anticipating moving off of 3 anytime without some kind of injury info. The Chargers had a weird game plan yesterday. We talked about Houston's struggles against the run, and the Chargers came out and the Chargers, who haven't been able to run the football this year, came out and chucked it around. And the running backs finished 23 carries, 86 yards. But the fact that they came out and were throwing the football all over the place was surprising to me, especially with a lead. against the Texans team that they tried to blow that lead against, and they didn't run the football. They didn't kill any clock. And obviously, the Chargers team is still without Bosa, still without Allen, still with some issues on the offensive line when it comes to injuries. They had a rookie left tackle making his first career start yesterday. And, of course, Herbert still has the cartilage in his ribs that is messed up. Although 7 straight 300 yards games for Herbert on the highway, worth noting as he travels to Cleveland this week. I wasn't impressed with Brissett, Jacoby Brissett again. It's hard to be impressed with them. The passing game for Cleveland's dicey. The running game is really strong. The offensive line is dominant. And when it's Chubb and Hunt, and the Browns are moving the football, they're a very difficult team to stop at time. But, a lot of mistakes yesterday. They had a coverage breakdown, cost them the game in week 2 against the Jets, and it probably cost them the game yesterday against Atlanta. They had the game is tied. The Falcons are at their own 9. And next thing you know, Zacchaeus is wide open for a 42-yard gainer, and then a face mask penalty, and then the Falcons are right in range for the game-winning field goal. And it's a Cleveland team that has cluster injuries on the defensive line. Myles Garrett hurt, Javon Clowney hurt. We don't know if either guy will shoot up this week. Those are 2 injuries to monitor and could affect this point spread.
Teddy, next game up, we get the Detroit Lions, New England Patriots. Patriots now -2.5. There's even -3s popping up from the opener of -1 in the hook here. 46.5 being the total. Of course, the Lions overall were playing some good football yesterday. Defense maybe not so much. But what are you thinking here, Lions and Patriots?
And again, it's a world in which you're allowed to bet on these games, despite the fact that the Patriots could have their first-string quarterback, their second-string quarterback, or their third-string quarterback start here. Literally. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to come back. He hurt his ankle yesterday. He got knocked out of the game. I don't expect Brian Hoyer necessarily to be out. He had a head injury, but if he's concussed and he's healthy, I would think Belichick will start him over Bailey Zappi. And Zappi, again, 10 of 15, 99 yards and a touchdown. He showed some poise, but he's a rookie. He got sacked 3 times in that ball game. He lost a fumble on 1. They had to scale down their offense, and they're not testing anyone downfield. That said, he gained 5.1 yards per rush with a third-string rookie quarterback. It's a pretty good run defense, but their defense got gashed on the ground the second straight week that the defense has been pushed around on the ground. As for the Lions, they have the highest scoring offense in the NFL through 4 weeks, and they're 1-3. And I saw this great tweet talking about teams that had scored 140 or more points the first 4 games of the season, and how they had a winning percentage of like 900 all time. And of course, the Lions are 1-3. And again, I talked about earlier. Yesterday, the Lions went over their team total by 18 points and were never in the game, which speaks about this defense right now. They still, the first 20, they're the 30th team to score 140 points or more in the first 4. And the first 29 teams went to 109-7, and Detroit is 1-3. The only other team to do it that wasn't even 500 was the 2002 Chiefs, who went 2-2. But when you're giving up 8.8 yards per play to Geno Smith, it's a problem. We'll see if the Lions are going to be healthy enough to have their key offensive. DeAndre Swift didn't play yesterday. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Shark all missing. But the offense was fine. It's a defense for Detroit that's problematic right now. That's why New England's favored in this ballgame, even though the look-ahead line was shorter than this. The Lions' defense is clearly problematic.
Teddy, I got to ask you a question here real quick. This is the 3rd game you've brought it up in terms of the modern marketplace, and we wouldn't have had lines maybe 5 years ago. Got a philosophy I want to run by you. It's because, or in my opinion, it's because the expansion of legal sports betting, DraftKings, FanDuel, Betfred, whatever you want to call it, these sports books coming in and putting up numbers, it causes all the sports books to have to do it. That's the reason I believe this is happening nowadays. Is there some other reason?
100% right. What's happened is that some books have said, we don't care, let's put the numbers up. And when some books do that, then the other books are forced to follow. So once there's a betting market number, one was the issue with a lot of the, why we waited all week for NFL lines back in the day at times when there were and only when there's quarterback questions, but because no one wanted to post that first number. No one would post the first number, or maybe one book would have it, but other books weren't copying. Here's a situation where there's a couple of books that are comfortable posting, and then everyone else is comfortable copying.
Yeah, and
That's
it's a
changing.
lot of copying. Yeah, you're right, and it's
Of
just
course.
who's going to step out there first, and then if everybody's doing it, you can't be the only sports book not, because then you'll look, that you're not going to get as much action, so you might as well throw it up there.
Sure.
Like it, Teddy. Yeah. All right, guys, let's move down the list here. San Francisco 49ers, Carolina Panthers up next. We're now onto the 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific slate after 9 1 o'clock Eastern kicks on Sunday. 49ers at Panthers. Niners. Teddy, I'm seeing anywhere from -4.5 to as high minus 5.5. I guess we can call it a consensus -5 as we're talking. 39.5 being the total here, Teddy. 49ers at Panthers.
Yeah, that's what I wrote it down as 5. Now, no, San Fran plays tonight on Monday Night Football. So only one of these two teams has played since this bettable number was out there. All right. Look headline was 3, and it did get bet up to 3.5. My powering number is 6.5. The total was 39 at the open, by the way, for the look ahead. And now here we're 5 and 39.5. There are 5.5s out there. The markets, I was surprised by the amount of support in the betting markets for Carolina. It's something right. That was Arizona as an underdog in Carolina. When I'm sitting there, I watch these teams play. Arizona's best for all their struggles. They're better than Carolina. And the funny thing is, so all the guys in Carolina now, all the beat writers like, Sam Darnold's coming off the IR this week. Sam Darnold, the guy who they couldn't wait to run out of town in the preseason. They couldn't wait to run him out of town last year. But that's how bad Baker Mayfield has been. Look, they had 11 first downs yesterday, 4.3 yards per play. Christian McCaffrey. He was the member. There were books that were, McCaffrey's going to affect the point spread. 8 carries for 27 yards. Way to affect the point spread. Matt Rule talking about the QB concerns. Quote, I don't have any thoughts about anything moving forward. We're going to go back and watch the tape and try to get these things corrected. Usually on Mondays, I can give you a better answer of what we will do going forward. Mayfield was bad yesterday, flat out bad. And Carolina's a 1-3 team, and they're being priced like it. And obviously, we'll see what San Fran does tonight. But like the Niners tonight, I wouldn't anticipate the -4.5 / -5 necessarily being there tomorrow.
Just a couple games left here, guys, as we're on the 4 o'clock slate. Huge shout out to the chat box, everybody joining us live. Well over 500 live watchers here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. If you could help us out, if you're liking the content, please smash that like button. If you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a line below, guys. What you're liking, what you agree with, what you disagree with, what you're looking to bet, all is welcome in the reply section below. Next game up here, Teddy, we get the Eagles and the Cardinals. Philadelphia -5.5. Again, another one where it's the low number is -5. The high water mark is -6 out there available in the marketplace. 49.5 being the total. Eagles at Cardinals, Teddy.
I hate to do this, but this is live. Get it ready, Dan, because we have to go back to a game we already talked about. It's getting popped right now. The screen's going black. If you want to get involved, get involved. Let's doodly-oop. We have emergency, super emergency. Dolphins, Jets. Tua just got ruled out. Tua out, downgraded to out for Sunday. And yet, the first bet's coming on Miami. That's weird. I don't know if we're going to emergency betting alert, but the money's coming in on Miami with Bridgewater as the QB. Again, I make a significant drop-off between Tua Tagovailoa and Teddy Bridgewater. The market's looking in the other direction for this one. That's a surprise to me. Now we were just talking about who the Eagles and the Cardinals. Arizona, who is now, I think, 0-8 in their last 8 home games. You bet on the Cardinals on the road, and you bet against them at home. You made a small fortune over the last year. And, of course, you bet against Arizona in the first half. They've been outscored 66-16 in the first half of these games. The defense has been the thing that's impressed me the most about Arizona this season. The offense has been lost for extended stretches. And the defense has been capable of keeping them in games while the offense is figuring out the kinks. And then Murray finds a way to make some plays after halftime. He's done it a handful of times already this season. But it's a team with either a negative or a 0 as your home field edge. And we talked about Philly as being the number 3 team in the NFL a couple of weeks ago. Again, look headline here was -4, bet up to 4.5, total 48.5. My powering number is 6. The betting markets is settled in at 5.5 this morning. But Philly's not a team I'm stepping in front of. Again, the defense did 5 more takeaways yesterday. The running game, 200 yards on the grounds and 4 touchdowns. Against a Jacksonville defense that was holding teams to an NFL low 55 rushing yards per game coming in. It was ugly conditions, and they got punched in the face to open the game, and they still were able to dominate. Nearly 200 yards edge, 40 minutes time of possession. They do have injury concerns, particularly in the secondary. Very concerning. But the offensive line is banged up as well. Avonte Maddox is supposed to be back this week. I don't know if Darius Slay is going to play. Patrick Johnson's hurt. A couple of guys in the offensive line, Jordan Mailata and Isaac Simelu, both hurt. So you do want to check that Philly injury report. But Philly's a one-way team for me. If you're not playing on them, I'm not betting against them. In Arizona, again, a team with 0 home field edge and a team that continues to have these awful starts to ball games.
Last afternoon kick before the Sunday and Monday nighters here. Dallas Cowboys at the LA Rams. 45.5 being the total. Rams -4.5 or -5. Kind of a split line here depending where we're shopping. Reminder, guys, the Rams are playing in Monday Night Football, so a correlated bet. If you like them tonight, maybe look to make 2 bets on them. If you don't like them, maybe look to bet 2 bets fading them. Teddy, Cowboys at Rams, 4:25 Eastern. Let's call it -5 with the Rams at home.
So this is another big move off the look-ahead line based on only one of the 2 teams playing. The other team hadn't even played yet. All right? But Rams open on the look-ahead line -7, total of 46. They did get bet down to 6.5, so the early money did come from Dallas. My powering number is 3 for this ball game, and I'm not low on LA. But, the Cowboys, 3-0 straight up and against the spread with Cooper Rush. They could have Dak back this week. First time since 1973, the defense has not allowed 20 points in any of their first 4 games. They've allowed exactly 1 touchdown in each games. Yesterday, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and in the backfield play after play. They have Gallup back at wide receiver with CeeDee Lamb now. Now they got their outside weapons. It's a Cowboys team that everyone was saying their season's over after week 1, and there was a sports book that said, we're going to pay out all the under bets after week 1. And Dallas right now has been way better than expected, certainly on the defensive side of the football. If the Rams look bad tonight, and again, there's 6s out there last night. There's still 4.5s out there, 5s out there right now. If the Rams look bad tonight, what's this line going to come? 3? That's it.
It could, Teddy. I didn't know if it was like emergency betting alert on what could happen possibly, but
no, that's it. No. So the emergency betting alerts are when the market is moving right now, and that's not happening for this game at all. Or the market, or I see signs the market's about to move, or I see that this line can't hold. This isn't a situation where the line can't hold for the Rams. But if the Rams get beat tonight, this line's not coming out 4.5, 5.
Like it. Teddy covers at Teddy_covers on Twitter. Sunday night.
Just the very last thing. There was some talk Dak's going to be back this week. All right. There's other talk. Hey, they're 3-0 with Cooper Rush. Let's not rush Dak back. We'll see. But if Dak does come back, that'll be another reason to see some Dallas money. Even now 4.5, 5. If it's Dak, that's 3.5, 4 at least, despite the fact that Cooper Rush has played as well as he has.
Okay, I would move it that much. I personally think it's one of those situations like, hey, Dak, we're 3-0, like rest up, make sure you're 100%, and then you got your job back type thing. I don't know. Do you see it any other different way?
No, but I see it exactly like that. Yeah. But if Dak's healthy, he's going to start. He's their starting quarterback. If he's good enough to go, he'll go. And I think the markets will move on Dak Prescott over Cooper Rush, even though Rush has been just fine. Without Dak in the line.
Good problem to have, I guess, if you're a Cowboys backer. We got Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens up next. Sunday Night Football here, guys. 8:20 Eastern, 5:20 Pacific, -3. There is some juice on that. That's the Ravens as the home favorite. Some juice at most sports books anyway. Some just -3 flat. That's the Ravens at home hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. 48 being the total Sunday Night Football, Teddy.
Yeah, if we'd have done this show 2 hours ago, this would have been an emergency betting alert. There were 3.5s out there. They're gone now. There's still 3 with juices for Baltimore, but the 3.5s pretty much wiped out. There's maybe 1 or 2 books that still has a 3.5 out there. if you like Cincy, I would grab that 3.5. Now, the look headline was 3.5. My powering number only 2 for the ball game. The market's, again, 3.5 and 48 last night, and we're seeing mostly 3s in early betting action today. We still haven't seen Cincy play a good game. You know, they have not played 40 minutes of good football together just yet. And yet they're still, back to 500. What stood out for Cincy this past week, again, some of it may have been Miami's defense being tired, but the offensive line was much better against the Dolphins on Thursday night. Joe Burrow all day. The protection was awesome. I had the time I needed in the pocket to find the guys I needed. Zach Taylor. Joe was lights out. You had to beat man coverage. We had the guys to do it, the protection to match it, and a quarterback who, that's what he wants to see. But again, they're struggling in the red zone, not scoring touchdowns. Defensively, this team's been dynamite. Second fewest touchdowns allowed per drive, if you're looking at that particular defensive metric. And of course, Ravens did a press conference schedule today, and I haven't seen what it was. I don't know what time it was. That was a bad loss for them yesterday. It really was. And of course, when you have the score tied at 20 all and you get down to the Buffalo 1-yard line, I don't blame Harbaugh going for it on 4th down in that spot, even with the game tied. But you have to tell the quarterback to throw the ball away, so at least you get the benefit of giving them the possession at the 2-yard line, not the 20, which is what happened after the touchback. And then they proceeded to go down, burn off all the clock, and win the game. But it's an offense that has been, at times, unstoppable, but they're getting riddled with injuries on the offensive line and obviously defensively. They've got some problems. After the game, quote, Harbaugh, hindsight, you take the points, but you look at it analytically, you understand why we did it. I don't blame Harbaugh for going for it there. This is an interesting quote, though. Lamar Jackson, week 4, we've been in this situation before. I feel like we're going to hit our peak at the right time. So there's still plenty of confidence and market support for the Ravens. That said, the 3.5 is getting bought up for Cincinnati.
NFL opening line report. 1 game left for the week 5 slate here. Teddy covers Drew Martin breaking it down each and every Monday on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Pacific start time. Guys, check out Teddy covers at Wager Talk and sportsmemo.com. #1 Wager Talk net profit handicapper since February 1st. Every play since February, 228 and 168. That's 58% winners plus 173% ROI. Also 12 and 5, 71% in the NFL since week 1. Last game here, Teddy, Monday Night Football for week 5. Las Vegas Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs. We're seeing the Chiefs -7. There is a 7 in the hook popping up there. 51 being the total. What are we thinking AFC West battle in Kansas City here, Teddy?
And I apologize. I know we're out of time, but I got to go back to Dolphins Jets because that is game getting pounded right now. What's getting pounded the most is the totals getting hit under with Bridgewater. They recognize Tua can test deep. Bridgewater not so much. So we are seeing under money for Miami and the Jets now that Tua has been announced out. And that, to me, is a move that actually makes sense. Raiders and Chiefs, look ahead line here was 6.5, got bet up to 7, total 50.5. My powering number is 9.5 for the game. The market's sitting at 7. There is a 7.5, a couple of 7.5s out there, and there's juice on the 7s. And we've had 2 emergency betting alerts so far. I'm going to put a third one for this game, even though the first one was a kind of a live, unplanned emergency betting alert. When the screen goes black, I want to pay attention. This one is one I anticipated being an emergency betting alert before we came on air, so let's cue it up. Look, my powering number is 9.5 on the game. The market's 7.5 right now. The 7s I don't think are going to be there. When KC is clicking, they're coming off a national TV win in which the offense did anything they want to against an elite defenses. And there's a handful of offense in this league that when they're clicking, they're unstoppable. 8 different receivers caught a pass by halftime last week. Who needs Tyreek Hill when you have Patrick Mahomes clicking on all cylinders like that? And of course, not like the Raiders defense is making stops. Raiders got outgained by a full yards per play yesterday. They were just 2 of 5 in the red zone. They were able to run Josh Jacobs. And what Tampa Bay did last night, they didn't even try to run on KC. I don't think Jacobs is going to be able to move the push. And of course, Jacobs became the first Raiders player to run for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game since Darren McFadden in 2011.
Wow.
And of course, the Raiders got their first defensive touchdown since 2019. They got off the schneid with the win. KC will take the money here. KC's the public side. I don't know if it'll go. I'm not anticipating this line going nuts, but if you want the Chiefs, lay 7 now. I don't think they'll get any better than that between now.
Yeah, we are seeing South Point move to 7 in the hook, DraftKings as well, juice on the 7 at the Westgate. So I guess some leading indicator books pointing up on the Chiefs. Teddy covers Drew Martin, NFL opening line report, guys. That is it for week 5. Huge shout out to the chat box. As always, feel free to reply below. Well over 500 people watching live. We do appreciate it. Please smash that like button and please help us out, for the algorithm below in the reply section. Teddy, throw it over to you, man. Great show as always. Any final thoughts before we shut this down?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was like, I've got so much info I want to give it, and then when we're done, I'm like, just
Yeah.
a big exhale because we got it all out. And I think I gave you the majority of info I was trying to give. Look, we had more than 14,000 views on the show 2 weeks ago. Last week we had the technical difficulties, so we were 2 shows, so we didn't get the numbers. But we're putting up some big numbers on the show. All we ask, look, I'm going to give this info. I'm going to give you everything I have on a Monday morning every week. I'm going to bring it, all right? I stay up late Sunday night just to do it. And I'm going to bring it every Monday. All I ask for you guys, if you like the show, tell your friends, because 14,000 ain't enough. We need more. So please, give us the viewers, give us the follows, give us the likes. And if you like the show, spread the word. Thank you so much. Good luck this week. We'll do it again next Monday, right here on the opening line.
Teddy covers himself. Guys, I second that. Thanks for your support out there. Let's blow this show up. NFL opening line report. We're checking out Dan Alexander behind the scenes. I am Drew Martin. Teddy covers as well. Guys, we will be back next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Come back and join us. Best of luck with your bets until then. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.